So, Jason, did you like the Chinese Grand Prix?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know nothing about racing.
I'm
You
aware.
know nothing about racing.
Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
If you don't know anything about racing, good. Join us. Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. How are you, man? Yeah, apparently we're all
Pretty
idiots.
good. Pretty good. We are all. Wait. Okay, so I think that it's going to be fun in that case.
Yeah.
Okay, let's begin then. So, Max Verstappen thinks if you enjoyed what was going on in the Chinese Grand Prix, you know nothing about racing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you think about that.
I think he's wrong and right at the same time. Look,
Yeah.
I think I can completely understand why some of the drivers don't like this. More so if you're in a team that's not winning. Sorry, I'm just digging there. But I can completely understand the comments on it. But I also do think there's been a massive over exaggeration as well of how bad it is, how it's not racing. And I think some of it's correct, some of it's wrong. Some of it is an exaggeration of the previous regulations. I guess it needs to be broken down. But I think for example, as a perfect example, Leclerc and Hamilton racing through the corners, that was racing. That's proper racing. That's wheel to wheel, side by side racing through corners. That's what I want to see. George driving past someone like they don't even exist with battery, that's not racing. And you know what? That is an even worse version of what I saw with DRS in the past, for example. So that for me isn't racing, and I agree with Max there. The management of the cars, again, it's too much. It's not proper racing either, you know, but again, it's an exaggeration of some stuff we saw in the past too. So I agree and I disagree. And I think some parts of this are better than the last series. A lot of it isn't though. Most of it isn't. And the one that I will not be able to defend is qualifying, because there's nothing good about qualifying. Nothing. So it really depends. But I think he's wrong in that it's all just not racing. And if you like any of it, you don't understand. That's wrong. Some of it was good. Some of it was entertaining, you know.
Okay. I think he was 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me explain. Again, Max Verstappen fan apparently these days after
Yeah.
being abused by all of them. Yeah. So, okay. I think we have to understand the point that he's trying to make. And initially, if you look at the thing is, if you leave your if you look at it like an entertainment movie, then fine. What the show that is put together, it is okay, great.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that are very artificial if you really dig deeper into the details. That again, that is something that a lot of, you can say, casual viewers, they will not be able to understand those things. And now what are those things? Why is Max Verstappen being this? Again, we have to understand one more thing. He answers the question he's asked. So if he's asked about the regulations, he'll answer. If Lando Norris is asked about the regulations, he'll answer the same thing, by the way. He won't say anything else. The problem right now that
what
we
if
are
George
facing
is asked?
Who cares?
What if Hamilton,
he's wrong
Leclerc are asked?
Yeah, Leclerc, he also says that there are parts of it which are artificial, and he's right. The problem that we are facing right now is when we talk about a driver affecting the performance of a car, there were certain elements that they had in their toolkit that they would have until 2025. The problem is now we've entered 2026 and that toolkit has been reduced and it has shrunk significantly. So what that means is there's only a limited scope of things that you can do. And what that also means is action was great. Agreed.
Yeah.
All of us agree with that. There's the other element. How much of an impact a driver is able to make to a car's performance? And I think this is something that Max has been touching on quite significantly, because if a car is dog shit, you won't see many drivers wring the neck of that car and produce a result out of it. Why? Because if you push the car a bit too much, you are essentially slowing down your overall performance. This is something that Charles Leclerc talked about.
Oscar Piastri
talked about it
as well.
Piastri talked about as well. Yeah. Both of them said that as they grew more confident in the lap, they got slower, because as they grew more confident, they tried to push a bit more. And pushing a bit more ultimately led to them being slower on the straights.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies.
That's the downside, yeah. That's a huge downside to these.
The thing is, ultimately what we've reached a point, and this is something that won't be evident quickly, but this is a major shift. We are basically restricting the drivers to being computer operators. Again, the thing is physical. It takes skill. There's still a lot of skill. There is still going to be a case that the best driver is still going to rise to the top. The cream always rises to the top, but the margin will be gone. And that is a very problematic thing. You won't see last year, and you can say last 5 or 6 years, some of the most stunning moments when it came to racing or when it came to qualifying or whatever, the expression of driver skill. What were they? They were Max Verstappen's overtakes. Some of the overtake on Oscar Piastri.
In Imola.
In Imola.
Amazing.
We won't see that. We cannot see that anymore. The qualifying laps from Max in Monaco 2022. Or Charles Leclerc's numerous qualifying laps where he's basically wringing the neck of the car and extracting performance that no other driver can. They're gone. There's a ceiling that is being put on those performances. And it is quite evident right now that there's this, you can say, okay, this is the baseline performance of the car, 0.2, minus 0.2 and plus 0.2. This is where a driver can operate. He cannot go beyond it. And I think that's where the problem comes in. What we are supposed to do, because what we are supposed to do essentially in Formula One is okay, I agree. Since 80s or 90s, we've consistently brought in new technology and regulations that have led to lesser and lesser impact of driver. But we've never had
drivers having to race to specific styles as well to make the car work.
Agreed, 100%. But we've never seen a case where after a point, we've drastically reduced the impact that a driver is making right now. It has reduced to such an extent that the overtakes, they might look good, but there's a gimmicky element to that. You might be using skills to save more energy, but power management to a certain extent is fine. If you are being forced to do that for almost 30 to 40% of the lap, what it means is you are not using your skill in the medium speed, fast speed section, and even the slow speed sections, which is a drastic drop. That, by the way, this, sorry, just to sum it all up. You know this stat that in the slow speed sections, if a driver is pushing the throttle just beyond a certain point, he ends up activating he ends up using the electric power. And if you are using electric power in that particular zone,
you're losing it in the straights.
It's a waste.
Yeah.
And these are the things that, fine, to a certain point, having a certain variable is fine. But if that becomes a predominant thing, it takes the joy out of the sport. And looking at the way they are racing, it was fun. The wheel-to-wheel action, everything is fun. There's a chess match element to it as well. But we are limiting the scope of what a driver can do in the car. And I think that is for me at least, that is very alarming. Yeah. And I think that is something that Max is touching on. He's maybe not being this explicit, but this is the case.
Yes. And look, I think there is parts to that. This regulation I don't like as much as some previous regulations. I think there's some big downsides to it. But I do think as well, there has been a situation of some people don't like certain parts of the racing, and therefore it's been used to say all of the racing is bad, which I think is an over exaggeration as well. There was some good racing to this, like I said, the guys coming through the corners, and it wasn't just the two Ferraris. We saw other cars through the field in the last Australia was a terrible race, to be honest, for parts of it, but we've seen over the two races, there's been guys able to fight through the corners, right? Because the cars are smaller, they're less grippy, which means more skill actually keeping them on track through the corners as well. Placement.
They're only being able to fight through those areas because there's a power differential. That's all.
No, but I mean, if you look at the two Ferraris, they were the same car coming down the same.
Power differential as in when they are deploying power.
Yeah, sure. But you saw them placing each other through the corners, squeezing each other through the corners. That is racing. That's proper racing.
No, of course. That is proper racing. So these
the point I get is what you're saying is
how they're getting to that point is there's a massive compromise in place.
Yeah, and they have to compromise the rest of their laps as well if they're fighting through those corners too, right? So
not only that, the overall skill element. My worry is if a driver cannot. So if you're a young driver,
I know what you're saying, but the problem with this is I I don't think it's going to be the case for very long that the overall skill will make a huge difference. And the reason for that is the actual power deployment is done mainly through software, right? So the actual software is,
No.
for the most part, they're learning through software.
No. They're doing it themselves.
No, not for the actual deployment.
Through throttle input.
Yeah,
The electric power that is being
will
deployed
kick in at
is being
certain
deployed
points.
through it is being deployed only through throttle input. It's not through a software. It's not through.
But the software is depicting how much it's doing. It's not just the throttle. Because
to
we
a
saw
certain
that
extent, yes.
we know it's software because, for example, I think it was Piastri or someone else was saying that essentially on one of the qualifying laps they started wrong, and therefore the actual software mapping of the deployment was out of kilt for the rest of the lap. So the software is definitely managing quite a lot of it, and I would imagine more than they want to let on.
So what Piastri was, I know which part you're talking about. This is his entire brief, right? So what he was specifically talking about is that the softwares ultimately configure where the power is going to be harvested. This is specifically for qualifying laps because this is more variable when it comes to your racing. So on a qualifying lap, again, I think there were 3 drivers that specifically talked about this thing. I think it was Oscar, Leclerc, maybe one more driver who said that the way to reach an optimal lap time in qualifying is repetition. Because if you move a little, if you try to push a bit or maybe step back a bit, what happens is your the software that is supposed to help you in harvesting power, it goes out of kilter.
Yeah.
And what essentially is going on is the drivers are being briefed on how much they have to harvest in which sections of tracks. So, and that is through AI. They ultimately find out, they run the iterations and find out which is the best optimal way to go about it. So that's what he was talking about, that the software configuration, it tends to get disturbed when you change when you use an entirely different approach.
Yeah.
And again, this kills qualifying essentially. The whole thing about having that final qualifying lap, full beans, just going
to be honest,
balls to the walls.
Qualifying, even if to be honest, for me, with qualifying, even if you still had like the battery management to an extent, as long as you can go flat out for a qualifying lap, I would be fine with that. The problem is you having to lift off before you even get to the braking zone. So it takes away that other like limit of absolute mechanical grip in the car. It's not there. So qualifying under this is bad. And look, there's a few bits of this I hate. Like, again, the perfect example of George just like breezing past one of the Ferraris, I think it was, because he had more
50
power.
kilometer per hour difference.
That annoys me. That annoys me because that is essentially DRS in the past up to the absolute max. Like, it's just a massive exaggeration of DRS. Because, like, I remember it was like 2021 Lewis or 20. Yeah, it was like 2021 Lewis or 2023 or 2024 Max at Brazil, I think it was, or one of the two. You know, where everyone was like, oh, well, they came from the back and nearly won or whatever, or won the race. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, if you look at all of the overtakes, it was just overtaking slower cars on the straights. It's like so much so that the other drivers didn't even bother to defend. They were like, there's no point defending. That when we talk about racing, that's not racing to me. Like, that is not racing. That is just me in a Porsche passing a Honda. That's not racing. Like, so I think that to me,
some
like
of them were Porsche passing a Honda apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, exactly. So like the thing is, this is like an exaggerated version of that at some instances. But again, my only concern is that I think, as much as yes, there's a lot of this that I don't like. Trust me, there's a lot of this I don't like. I also do want to say, like, the cars being lighter and nimbler through the corners is better than the last couple of years of like boats trying to pass each other through corners. Colapinto able to place his car was really exciting to watch as well, defending and being able to come back through. You know, that was exciting. So like, maybe the drivers are like, oh, well, it's not pure racing. Sorry, it hasn't been pure racing for decades, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
This is the worst version of that. I concur. But the other thing I will say is, like, I think this is, when it comes to the electrical side, this is as bad as it's going to get, because they will get better and better at managing that the actual engines will. They'll all get closer in terms of deploying, recharging, figuring out the best optimal way to do that. And the conversions will mean that will be less and less of an issue. Unfortunately, because it's fucking Formula One, as that gets better, dirty air will get worse. So, which is always the case. But yeah, I
dirty
think
air is also a factor right now. It's
right
just
now,
that
and
because
it's
power
going
is
to
a
get
lot,
worse,
you can,
unfortunately.
it's able to, you can override it. And
yeah.
it's, so when it, even when it comes to the power units being more mature and this thing becoming a bit less, it will. But again, it's a physical limitation. You cannot go beyond a certain point. You would still have to harvest this much power. And ideally what they should have done is they should have started with a more a somewhat
They should have
more
started with
convenient
70-30, something like that.
Exactly my point. You start at 70-30 and then you tell, you literally give a directive that, okay, every year we are increasing 10% or every year we're increasing 5% or something on those lines. Because that way it becomes easier for, first of all, it does not make the spectacle look like a joke. You don't have to fabricate it blew my mind when on a straight, after a certain point, they will not show the car on boards. Just fucking stupid. You cannot. It's like
because you can literally
like,
hear the car lift off and coast to the
exactly.
End. It looks terrible. It's awful. Yeah.
The level of curation that has been going on.
There's some of this, but like the point is just I was a bit concerned that like certain fans over the weekend that I saw who were just like, oh, that's it. This is all terrible. Like none of this is good. This is terrible. And then like even like watching parts of it that I was like, you know what? That was fucking skillful of like, look, I keep going back to Leclerc and Hamilton because it was the most obvious. There were some other things throughout the field where they were coming through corners, pushing each other to the edge. I was like, this is proper. This is good racing.
Yeah.
Like I'm enjoying this. And it's like, when I do see people go, no, all of it was terrible, I'm like, okay, this is a bit of an over exaggeration. There is some good to this. And personally, I guess I have to think that because I'm also like
going to be,
well, I also want to watch Formula One for a couple of years. And if I just go and focus on all the bad, then why watch as well?
Yeah, exactly. So, look, for me, the whole thing is, I mean, as we said last time around as well, right? That when it comes to it, fine, whatever it is, we'll just suck it up and this is Formula One.
Formula One's always bad for a while as well, right?
Yeah.
And like some of the complaints is also like, look how good the Mercedes is. It's like, have you seen Formula One before? Like every regulation change, this happens for a while. Yeah. Like one team tends to kill everybody else. You know,
the concern for me is that when we start shutting down discontent, because again,
I don't want to do that either. There is some terrible stuff to this, definitely.
Yeah, my point is that there have been rumors that content creators have been reached out and told to have a specific narrative. Yeah. So that began last week. I've not been reached out. Just making
F1,
it clear.
if you want to send us checks, we'll happily talk about how great racing is.
Exactly.
Shoot it over.
So so this has been done. Journalists have been briefed. There has been strict briefings to broadcasters on how they're going to talk about things. And once that happens, you're not only muffling the voice that is being put together. The other thing is that so what Max is doing right now is he's essentially speaking for almost every driver on the grid, other than the top 2-3, which are fine with the way things are. And they're going to be Formula One always. Yeah. And again, the thing is, you just sit down and listen to, for anyone, I'll suggest this, sit down and listen to the post-race debrief of almost any driver whenever they're questioned about the racing regulations, and they slowly start talking about it and the frustration creeps in because everyone feels ridiculously limited. And again, this yo-yo racing, everything, it's fun because the position is changing multiple times.
Also because it's new, right? It's new. Yeah. It'll wear off, you know?
Yeah. And the problem that happens with the whole thing is, if this thing sticks, we are taking a drastic step towards the direction of Formula One where the driver impact is severely limited. And if we are going to talk about Formula One where this has been a slow, gradual process, if we just sit there and act like, okay, fine, this is a drastic drop in driver impact and we are okay with it, then I think this is where things are wrong. And Yeah, honestly, this is where things are wrong because I've seen
Formula One's always been 90% the car anyway. What difference does it make if it's 98?
it will be 99%. That's what I don't want.
It's all about the technology.
Yeah, but then remove the drivers and put dummies in place. Yeah,
Yes.
because
Thanks.
my point is that if we keep going on this journey, it's not somewhere good. And I can literally name sports where there have been decisions taken to cater to a very casual viewer, and that has led to catastrophic consequences. UFC right now, it's fucked. One of the currently they did a major deal with Paramount and everything. They cater to a certain kind of audience. They've put together a pay model which is essentially they're not going to pay fighters. So what has happened is a competitor has emerged in Netflix, and the kind of fights that they are putting together, it is going to screw over the UFC, whatever the White House card or whatever is going to happen. It's happening in cricket, and it's happening in a lot of sports. Why? Because the casual fans are going to stick around for a while.
Just as a note, though, it's impossible to make cricket exciting, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
We're not talking about you. We're talking about billions of people. You're just a minority when it comes to that.
They're all wrong.
Yeah,
exactly. I'll be Max Verstappen here. Cricket is not a real sport. Okay.
Which much more real than what do Irish play other than drinking?
Oh, not much. Gaelic football, Gaelic hurling, rugby.
What is Gaelic football?
Exactly. It's amazing though. You should genuinely check out Gaelic hurling. It's like possibly the most exciting sport in the world. It's insane. Yeah. I'll send it to you after. But we play rugby, manly sports.
Yeah. Great. Perfect. That's the sport to play. Yeah. And that explains why a lot of them end up being drunk, because the heads are already smashing against each other. Yeah. Coming back to
when the British
point,
occupy your country for so long, you need to drink. You know this.
Yeah. We didn't even have water. Remember?
we had
the
potatoes
Bengal
and
famines,
beer.
right?
That was it. Yeah.
The Bengal famines, and the great Winston Churchill. He came back and said, "But Gandhi is not dead yet." So, anyways, that's a very, very. Yeah. Congratulations, by the way. Coming back to Formula One, that was a weird tangent. Yeah.
So, which we never do on this podcast ever.
Yeah. That's the USP. So, anyways, just ending the whole point. Look, for me, the whole concern is if we end up going in a direction where drivers like Max Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, the top elite drivers, if they are neutered, I think it's not a good direction for the sport. And right now, the drivers that are speaking out, they're speaking out for this very reason, nothing else. And his tone might be arrogant, and overall what he's saying, it might sound a bit cocky, but he's right. We are seeing the large part of what we saw on that day. It wasn't really essentially driver skill taking over. It was essentially rules forcing you to drive a certain way, and your performance ultimately coming down to how much you can harvest the power and what are your power units characteristics. And I think that's a major red flag for me. So
the devil's advocate to that, though, is obviously that like throughout Formula One history, that has been a factor. It just depends on how much you want that to be a factor. Like even if we go back to Senna, for example, was it Senna or Michael Schumacher? I'm thinking of having to hit the pedal to keep the turbo charged, for example, to give an advantage repeatedly. You know,
would be Senna in that case, because Michael didn't have turbos.
I think it was Senna in like having to basically continuously through the corners spike the pedal to keep the turbo pushed in. The way that, you know, for example, I guess less so actually, because I was going to say Alonso with the car and the way he attacked corners, but that was very specifically limited to that car. But like drivers having to push to limitations basically has always been part of the sport. The problem is this here is like, how much can the driver affect that limitation and work with it? That will be the big question, I guess. And we need to see, like, is it a limitation that, you know, maybe Mercedes and Ferrari drivers are enjoying because they're like, oh, there is a way to exploit these limitations and, you know, make the car better.
They are enjoying because they have the top two cars.
Of course, that's the main reason, yeah. But, you know.
And the first feedback from all of them was not positive. George was not positive about these cars. He said, of course, they're not the best that I've driven. Leclerc was not too happy. Kimi was fine. He's in his second year. He's just enjoying himself. Yeah, and Lewis was happy because he can
drive the car. Yeah. But my point is, look, obviously this is too extreme a version, My point is there has always been factors where drivers have to change how they drive the car to make the car work for them or to make the car perform. And like even Max's driving style from like 21 to 22 changed because of the way the car is adapted, you know, and there was limitations of those cars. And in many ways as well, like the 2022 cars from a technical standpoint, in order to make the fastest car, you actually had to make a slower car in many respects, you know.
Right.
A lot of you couldn't do a limit of downforce anymore without kicking off porpoising, for example. So like, you know, it's
that doesn't mean it's a slower car. I understand the point you're making. Yeah.
Technically slower than the car could go in theory because of limitations. So I'm just saying, like, this is an extreme version and I don't like a lot of it, but we have had issues like this in the past. And the reason I bring it up is this too will end. And worst case, if it doesn't end, we'll all die. So it's fine. It'll end at some point. I just, one thing I will say is it does once again show that our annoyance over the last couple of years of like Formula One catering to manufacturers instead of fans has bared out in the ultimate version of that, because they've had to make an utterly compromised racing series purely to get Volkswagen into the sport. Because realistically, there were some good parts to the ground effect era, and if they had have just taken that learning and said, right,
active
you know what?
Suspension, just put active suspension in place and you will get rid of porpoising.
I mean, even if they wanted to get rid of ground effect to make the cars more nimble in corners and so on, he could have easily done that. Made the cars smaller, made the cars lighter like they did here, and instead of putting the new engines on, keep the old engines or, you know, an advanced version of that, whatever you want to do, but keep those and then just go and focus on the one main thing, which I kept saying the last couple of years. Just put it into the regulations that there is a limit on the amount of dirty air that your car can create, and let the fucking engineers figure out the rest. You know, because that's what they'll do. They'll figure that out. So, but instead we said, we want to get Volkswagen in, so we're going to fuck up the entire regulation set. Yeah. Fine. You've made your bed, sleep in it, you know?
Exactly. So again, just to wrap this topic up, we've went on for too long as usual. So
it is a podcast. I mean, that's kind of the point.
Yeah. So in case, just to explain it to the people, in case someone is still not entirely sure what's going on, pre-2026 and after 2026, there are two different approaches when it comes to driving. So how a driver used to put together a lap time. Pre-2025, it used to be all about extracting the most from your fast speed sections, medium speed sections, being a late breaker or early breaker depending on the car characteristics and whatever. But it used to be entirely about not leaving even a tenth on the table throughout those sections, and then ultimately the straights were the time when they used to relax. Your biggest differentials didn't used to be on straights if the power units were more or less similar. What has happened? So what used to happen pre-2026 was most or the chunk of the lap time. What I mean by lap time is the difference that a driver or a car used to make. It used to be done in every part of the track except the straights most of the time. If we are talking about the power units being same, what has happened now is you are literally forced to underdrive your car at a certain pace so that the turbo can spool and your power can be harvested throughout all of the track, and then the lap time is made on the straight. That's the main difference, and that's why drivers are unhappy because look, we will go to Spa. Spa is useless now. Most probably even tracks like Silverstone will have issues. The tracks with long straights or challenging corners, they are going to be useless now. What are they going to do in Eau Rouge? Nothing. What are they really going to do there? So the thing is, you are going to kill some of the more challenging tracks and corners because they will not have any. They'll literally be harvesting power in those areas, but anyways, moving on to the next one. Let's talk about Kimi Antonelli then, the championship favorite apparently. I picked him, by the way. Your view? Second, I think he's the second youngest driver to win an F1 race. Yes,
I believe so. After Max, right? It's him, then Max, then Vettel, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the next one.
Yes.
Honestly, I was blown away too, because look, the qualifying pace was great. Obviously, that's all on the battery, so no skill there. But yeah, look, the qualifying was amazing. And obviously the key to that, though, is that George was clearly having issues with the car. So I think he still has some work to do there. But he didn't get bogged down at the start, which he has had a couple of issues with already. And when you mount the extra pressure of on pole going for your first win, fair play to him, because it is difficult not to bottle in that situation. You know, he must have gone back and watched hours of Lando Norris and learned from failure, I imagine. So, you know, he had a really great start, kept composed under pressure. He was put under pressure by, you know, the two Ferraris.
Without any resistance whatsoever.
Yeah, because better battery, nothing more there. But no, he did a great job, like keeping on top of the tires, you know, not falling apart under pressure with the two Ferraris kind of pushing around him at the start. A lot of other drivers weren't able to do that, you know. So, yeah, I know, a really good job. And look, I think he's already made a step, I think, from last year to this year. And I think, you know, I still think it's a big ask to expect him to be in a title fight this year. Because especially against George, like if it was another driver, maybe, but like George, we all know how good he is. Apart from Toto, everyone else knows how good he is. So, I don't know if I'd see him in a title fight. If he can, incredible. If he can hang on for the season, but I think that might be still a bridge too far. But I think this is a kid who's going to be like, this is a future world champion, definitely. Like, no doubt in my mind. This is a future world champion.
Future could be December 2026. We don't know.
Yeah.
As I predict.
It could be this year. It could be this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, if he wins this year, incredible, to be fair.
Yeah. So first of all, talking about the race, I think for me, so even when after Saturday and the qualifying going his way, even that, I think he was 2 tenths faster than Lewis or something, right? In P3?
Yeah.
2 or 3 tenths.
I think so.
The gap wasn't that big. And once he put together that lap, I think my first reaction was, okay, George would have been around half a second faster than the Ferrari. So the gulf is there in performance between both the drivers. George has the edge when it comes to qualifying.
Yeah.
I think for me, it comes down to a couple of things. First is he made sure there were a few things that worked his way as well, because George was right behind him and then the safety car screwed it up for him and he had to go back to P4. Earlier, George was P2 behind him, and it was just a second. I think a 1 second or 1.2 seconds gap. Whether George would have had an easier chance at that point, I think so. But we don't really know. For me, the whole point of when I'm looking at Kimi Antonelli's season is, at least for the first quarter or first half of the season, all I want him to do is be within touching distance of George. Be within a couple of tenths. If he can just continue to be that, the basic learning curve that exists when it comes to an 18, 19-year-old who is very, very new to racing, I think that will ultimately kick in. And once it does, I think George is going to be in trouble. Because if Kimi Antonelli at 19 years of age with 24, 25 races under his belt, he is within a couple of tenths of George Russell already. George Russell, basically, you can say one of the top 3 best drivers in Formula One when it comes to everything.
Qualifying as well as specifically. Everything. But specifically qualifying, he was Mr. Saturday for a long time for a reason. You know. Yeah. He
doesn't last year, right? George doesn't have bad days. And
no.
Very rarely he'll fuck it up. That's the level against which Kimi is competing. So if he can for the first half of the season, if he can stay within a couple of tenths, I'd be happy. I'd also be surprised that he's able to do that. If the learning curve kicks in, I think it's going to be very, very nervous times for George, because it's not only about having a young talent that is already this good. It's about having a team that continues to gyrate towards that young talent and not towards you for some reason. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are not talking about it, but it was Lewis Hamilton's team until 2024 when he left.
Yeah. And
it is slowly becoming Kimi Antonelli's team.
Unless the conspiracy theories are correct.
What?
Unless the new conspiracy theory is correct.
Which is?
That Toto Wolff and George essentially worked together to fuck up Red Bull.
I doubt it.
I hope it's true, because I have more respect for Toto, because that's one of the things I loved about Horner. just playing those like mental games all
Yeah.
the time. And if it turns out Toto was enough of a prick to kind of dangle a contract at Max just to fuck up Red Bull, amazing. I doubt it's true though, but amazing if it is.
So
Very
what-
Formula One.
Yeah, so on Friday, I was part of a press conference with Jacques Villeneuve was there. So I asked
I think
him.
he said it as well. Yeah.
So according to him, he said that it was all political game. There was a certain level of vendetta involved. I don't know exactly in what sense. I couldn't ask the follow-up. I mean, I did ask a follow-up that why was Russell's contract then delayed so much? And he said, yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. That was weird. So let's see what happens there, because it seems, at least for now, when you look at how Toto greets Kimi and how he treats him, I've seen the whole thing play out when Max was at Red Bull in 2017 and early 2016, that a lot of attention used to go to the young driver, young talent. And as soon as Max dropped into Red Bull in 2016, the attention changed from Daniel, and Daniel was pissed about it. At least he would be frustrated when things used to happen in this way, because Max had a couple of errors in him in general, and when the starts used to go wrong, Daniel would lash out a bit. Once Max started beating Daniel regularly, Daniel was out. Let's see where ultimately Kimi ends up, because if he's what if next race we've already seen McLaren basically had a double DNF, and it was entirely down to the power unit.
Yeah.
What if George ends up having one?
Mhm.
Kimi gets into the lead. What if then Kimi beats him once or twice, and the gap is around 40-45 points? What then? There are a lot of the pressure would ramp up. It's the Rosberg Hamilton thing, right?
Yeah.
One stayed consistent and didn't really let all these things get into his head. The other kind of had an issue. Let's see what happens, because it's getting interesting when it comes to the dynamics within the team.
At the moment, I think still George wins personally.
100%. 100%.
Because I think
do not
George is
disagree
more
with that.
willing to play those games than Antonelli will be as well, like mental games too. Like George plays those mental games behind the scenes. Like we know what he's like with how he is with PR compared to what he's like behind the scenes. Like they're two very different people with George. Like I remember Qatar, like the games he played there. Yeah. Over one position on the track, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be interesting, but I think this is good for Antonelli as well, because like Lando, right? I think George is a better driver than Lando personally, and I think most people would probably agree with that overall.
It's close.
And like, I think Lando is a lot better than other people let on. I just think George is a more complete driver than Lando in many ways.
If we have both George and Lando in the same car, I think it's going to be very close.
I think so too. But I think George wins.
I would be reticent when it comes to picking either of them, especially after Lando becoming a champion already.
That is the difference. Like Lando even now like seems a lot more calm and relaxed about everything, which I think is a dangerous Lando, to be honest. But I think like if we look at what Oscar went through in like season 2 of just being absolutely demolished by Lando throughout the whole season, it made Oscar a much better driver by the end, because you're getting challenged. You're having to kind of beat your teammate. You know they've got the same car. Like it levels you up much faster than anything else, I think. So I think this is good for Antonelli, and even if he loses this season, I think he'll come into the third season as a driver that will be like Oscar was to Lando, like dangerous for Russell. I'm just not sure that'll happen this season, you know. And I think like we'd be having a very different conversation if like if Russell hadn't have had those issues in Q3, like he would have probably, as you said, qualified half a second up the road, like probably 0.3 or so ahead of Antonelli, and he would have, knowing George, pulled away at the start, and probably just that would have been that.
Repeat
he
of
would
Australia.
have won. Exactly. And we would be having a very different conversation, even if Antonelli drove exactly the same as he did, just for second place. It would have been like, oh, brilliant, but you know, still.
But it's fine. I mean, again, I will not say Kimi was the faster driver around China. It's not the case. He was losing a couple of tenths to George easily. My whole thing here is that he's losing a couple of tenths right now when he's at a very early stage of his learning curve. And I think for me that's the point where things become a bit concerning. All for George. What I think there's one area where I get a bit I there's a level of immaturity and childishness to Kimi. At least from on the outside, it seems that there is. I still want to see a lot more of that steely determination and fire that, okay, whoever the fuck there is, I'll beat him. I saw that on the very first day. Then when Max drove out, when he first did a lap, he was, I don't fucking care, I'll beat everyone. That's the attitude that Max had. He knew how good he was already at 17 years of age. And I think at 19 years of age, Kimi still doesn't know how good he is. I think there's the confidence that comes from knowing that. And I don't think he even knows that he's in a championship battle right now.
Yeah.
Because it does not appear from his demeanor, at least from the outside. I'm maybe making too many, you can say,
assumptions.
What is it called? The
assumptions or
assumptions, as well as doing too much of a mental analysis of where Kimi stands right now.
Oh, yeah. There's a word for this. I'm not very good.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with words. So
yes. Yeah. You should not start a podcast in that case.
Did I mention I've got a new book out?
Yeah. I'm not very good at that. So
it's great.
Anyways,
great advertisement for the book. I'm not very good with words. Buy my new book.
It's only pages.
It's all empty on the inside.
Yeah. Like my heart. Anyways,
Jesus.
Coming back. Yeah. Coming back to it. I think that's where it's a bit the hunger is where I think maybe there's a question mark, and let's see what happens with it, because that's the only area where I think he is a step behind what Max was. It's this bit, because Max was very headstrong, but again, Max came from an abused childhood from Charles Verstappen.
Well, you know, I mean, you have that hunger when you're walking home from the petrol station every day, you know what I mean? So
when it's snowing, by the way. So
yeah. But, you know, I mean, it's probably a good thing that he doesn't have that, because it ruins an entire team. It makes you think that you know better than the guy who's been running the team for 20 years, and we can see how that's worked out so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
done great. Yeah. Could have won a championship last year if they hadn't fired him. I stand by that.
Yeah. Me too. 100%, without a doubt. So again, the whole George versus Kimi dynamic, I think there's going to come a point, and I think we saw a little bit of it last year when we had interviewed Kimi, and there was one of these questions that I had pitched. It was specifically that how is the relationship with George, because it was after Brazil, and he said that it's fine, but again, at the end of the day, both of us know that we are trying to beat each other.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I saw a bit of fire, but it's fleeting right now. I haven't seen I don't think both of them have realized that this is a championship battle already. George is trying to be the big brother, just trying to keep the child on a leash in a certain way.
If you're George, that's what you want to do, right?
100%.
You want to
100%. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Kimi is, at least from the outside, it does appear that he's still figuring it out, that, okay, wow, I got a win. Surprise. I got a pole position. Wow. So this is also supposed to happen and happen at 19 years of age. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what happens there.
It's one of those things. Look, he got the win now, and now nothing, the change will take place, because now nothing will compare to a win. You know, like before, gets a podium, gets some good points, like it's all fun. Now you get the win, and it's going to be nothing will compare to the win. So I think we'll see him change, you know, like Vettel talked about that before, like, you know, when Leclerc came in and it's like they were fighting for P4, P5, and Leclerc was over the moon, and he's like, I don't care. Like, you know, I don't care.
Exactly.
So I think once you get that win, that's it. It's going to be in your system, you know. So
100%.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens with them. Okay, Lewis Hamilton then. First podium. So Lewis Hamilton broke.
The king of Shanghai.
Yeah, she has a word for you. She might have a word with him in that case. She, S-H-E, no other she.
Yeah. Is it she or G? I always say G. I don't see. Is it?
I used to say Xi's Jinping, but apparently it's she.
I just say President Overlord, man I look up to. That's usually what I say.
Yeah. God.
Yeah. The great leader.
The great leader.
Yeah.
Supreme leader.
I don't want to be called that anymore.
Touche.
Anyway.
Yeah, coming back to it. So Lewis Hamilton, then, is he back? What's your view on the whole thing?
Look, there was a lot riding on the fact that these cars suit Lewis Hamilton.
So he had to fuck one of them to get a DNA.
I'm just saying the cars suit Lewis Hamilton, so that's good.
Okay, so you think it comes down to just that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's proven himself to be deeply unadaptable. So,
Okay.
no, look, Lewis has always been really quick. He clearly just didn't. Like I kept saying in the last regulation, it was just obvious that he was either unwilling or unable to adapt to the regulation set. I imagine it was unable because why would you continuously be unwilling to for 4 years? You know, you think at some point you'd be like, I should probably start learning how to drive these cars. So I'm going to say unable. These cars clearly suit him better. He did a really good job. I think, like, I still think he's driving at a very high level, but I think he was driving at a pretty high level in the last 4 years as well. He just wasn't able to get on top of the cars.
Yeah.
You know, in the same way that, like, Fernando Alonso is still a top tier driver, so is Lewis Hamilton. The problem is, just like Fernando Alonso as well, like, we're still not seeing the peak Lewis Hamilton. Peak Lewis Hamilton for me was probably 2018, 2017. I usually say 2018, but so I think the problem he's going to face is, like, yes, he beat Leclerc this weekend, but I think on average you have to say, like, he's not beating Leclerc. And also this is a track that I know Leclerc said this, so it's easy to just say, oh, well, that's just Leclerc saying it, but, like,
Remember
it's kind of borne out
during the
it's not
preview
a
as
good
well
track
last
for
week.
him. Yeah.
I've been saying
Exactly.
that for a while.
It adds up if you look into it. I was thinking maybe this will be the one to buck the trend, but it's not a good track for him. So the thing is, they were very close this weekend anyway. And if Lewis is just very close to Charles on what's probably his worst track, it's not a good sign for the whole season. You know, like, I think Lewis being close to Leclerc is really, really good, but that's probably not going to be good enough for Lewis or his fans, to be honest. You know, he's not going to want to be the clear number 2 at a team, which in my mind he still is the clear number 2 at that team. You know,
Okay.
in terms of just performance. I'm not saying they treat him that way. I'm just saying in terms of performance, it's Leclerc
by
then
paying him
Hamilton.
4 times the money, they treat him as a second driver.
It's a really good deal
I'd
Ferrari
love
have
to be a
gotten
second
here.
driver.
Yeah.
In that
I-
case.
For me, I'd prefer to be the second driver. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
At Ferrari, of course.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
4
yeah.
times the lead driver.
I mean, you're going to be absolutely broken mentally, physically, you know, just in every way at Ferrari. You might as well get the bigger paycheck because you're not winning a title at that team, so you might as well take more money, you know.
Okay. Okay. Answer me this question. So this year, point standings after 2 races, Lewis and Leclerc. What's the gap between the two?
3 points, 4 points, something like that.
Check it once.
Yeah, I need to check, but I would imagine 3 or 4 points. I don't think it's that much. I haven't actually checked the standings yet. It's too early. 1 point. Interesting. Didn't realize it was
In
that
favor
close.
of
Leclerc. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go to 2025 season. Check
Mhm.
the standings after the first 2 races.
Oh Jesus. What was the second race last year?
China. Same race.
Oh yeah. Oh god damn it! I'm trying to find from last year. Do you know what it is? Because I'm trying to find out.
Okay. It was 1 point in favor of Lewis.
Really? No
See,
way.
that's
Was it
what a lot of
actually?
people forget. So what happened was the first race was in Australia where Ferrari left both of them out on slick tires in the rain. So they, I think,
Yeah.
came home 8th and 10th. Then
Yeah,
the
it was
second
35
race-
and it was 9 points and 8 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the second race was in China. Lewis won the sprint, and I think Leclerc was, I don't remember, he was 4th or 5th. Then the race in China was essentially both were disqualified, so they didn't really score in that one. After the first 2 races, Lewis was leading Leclerc in the championship.
Mhm.
So it means let's look at the positives and the negatives. The negatives is, I think, at least for now, in both Australia and China, they are not Leclerc's best tracks. They weren't even in the past. He's been very vocal about it as well. In both these two tracks, I'd say Lewis has been a slightly quicker Ferrari driver in both of them. Because even in Australia, Lewis was closing the gap on Leclerc at the end of the race.
If only he qualified better, is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. Then we've come to China, and at China, Lewis has outqualified Leclerc in both the races, in sprint and the Grand Prix.
He was definitely the better driver in China. Yeah.
And in the race as well, he beat him. However, in China, I'd probably assume that if Leclerc does not have that late race lockup, which essentially let Lewis through, I don't think Lewis was coming through. That kind of screwed Leclerc's race overall. So it's neck and neck between both of them. But China and Australia are not the tracks where Leclerc is Leclerc, for the lack of a better word. We are going to see more tracks where things are going to be maybe different. We'll see how both of them adapt. For now, if you look at the positives, it's a good start for Lewis. He's got the monkey off the back for sure. 26 races for the first podium. That's a record, by the way. An unwanted one, but that's a record. The longest number of races to reach a podium for Ferrari. And from now onwards, at least he'll have the confidence on his side. Plus also the team will also have a bit of confidence in him because that was lost last year.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the negative side is Leclerc was neck and neck and he could have probably beaten him in both the races. And this is on his worst tracks. Then we'll have Suzuka, which is probably more Leclerc track. Bahrain would have been entirely Leclerc track, which is not there anymore. Thanks to fucking idiot. Then we also have Jeddah would have been a Leclerc track. That is also gone. Then we'll go to Miami. Miami is also a Lewis track. If you remember last year, Lewis and Leclerc were neck and neck at Miami as well. Lewis got a sprint podium in Miami. So it's only later in the season that I think we'll start seeing the real picture because Leclerc is also understanding the regulations. He's not really there yet. And Lewis is a bit more natural. These regulations are a bit more natural when it comes to him and the learning curve seems to be better on his side. So yeah, we'll see. At least for now, it's positive when it comes to Ferrari. They do have things in place. Yeah. Let's see where they are.
Let's see if they can not fall off like usual.
The concern for me is the power unit is it is good at the starts, but that's it. The long straight they are going to be screwed.
Will they get an upgrade after Miami? I think so.
They're supposed to be 2%. Yeah.
That's the problem. So if I were them, I would probably turn the engine down for a race or two.
They have only one race, right?
Yeah. Well, no, they've got Miami as well, I think is included.
Yeah.
So
2% of 1000 bhp, how much would that be? 20, right? No, but we have to look at the IC engine side. So 550 bhp, 2% would be what, 11?
Yes, I believe so.
Right? Yeah. So 11. So 11 but they are going to be less than 11. I think they will have the deficit, isn't it?
I think
11 bhp doesn't seem much.
I'd be surprised if they don't get an upgrade at some point,
No, upgrade they will get, but for them to have the added advantage of ADUO, that is the main thing.
So that's what I mean. I think they will get that though. Yeah.
So they would get that. Honda would also get it. I think Red Bull will also
definitely get it. If Honda don't get it, something is fucking wrong.
Yeah, then the rule is broken.
Yeah. If Honda don't get it, we're all screwed. There's no way.
Okay, talking about screwed then. Let's talk about Red Bull and McLaren. Let's do a single section for them. What happened to both of them?
Well, I mean, McLaren had a good race. They didn't crash with anyone on all the time that they were out on track, so that's good. I think, look, McLaren's a weird one, but what's been strange about this is it seems to me like the McLaren was pretty reliable through testing, right? And now they're having issues the moment that they got the fully upgraded unit. So I wonder like how much Mercedes held back in terms of like fully upgraded unit for their teams? Because it seems like all the teams in Australia, for example, running the Mercedes were all completely confused as to how to run. Yeah. And for McLaren to have like a double DNS, not even DNF, like with the same component, it sounds like, just for different reasons, basically. Like
electric issues or something.
Yeah, but it seems like it was like specifically the exact same piece in each car that was causing a problem, but the reason for the problem was different for both cars, which is bizarre. Like, and then the fact that they were so confused by deployment in Australia, for example, like, and how to get on top of that. Like, it seems like Mercedes kind of went, here's the testing engine. Oh, by the way, here's a new black box. Enjoy that. We'll see you in 6 races. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm because the Ferrari guys, the Ferrari customer teams haven't,
like they're fine.
they don't seem to
very
have
happy.
any issues with figuring out the engine. So I don't know. Like, it seems like Mercedes were like, yeah, McLaren has good aero and they're better than us at that. So let's make sure we fuck them up by giving them the engine. And it's like because they're only allowed to, they have to give them technical parity. It's just the understanding. So it's like, how much changed between testing and race 1 that these teams are all so confused by the engine? It's insane. I don't understand that.
I think it comes down to packaging as well, to a certain extent. It also
Maybe.
comes down to, it also comes down to, okay, I'm not really alleging anything, but Mercedes is not following the spirit of regulations. And apparently in 2026, we follow the spirit of regulations.
There is no spirit of the regulations.
No, there is.
Doesn't
There
exist.
is.
Doesn't
That's
exist.
that's why the compression ratio thing was overhauled, because it was not within the spirit of regulations.
Yeah, but you could also say it wasn't to the word of the regulation at points.
It was to the
And
word
they
of
changed the
regulations.
wording of the regulations last year, technically.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
what?
argument.
It is. So what? It was
Yeah.
changed, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, in essence, when it comes to the spirit of regulations, what Mercedes is supposed to do is it needs to provide the exact same data that is available to them to its customers, and it is not doing that whatsoever. And it has, and again, the last preseason test in Bahrain, the second one, Mercedes used the upgraded PU. McLaren, Williams, and Alpine, they didn't. They
No.
weren't given the new one. And
They
that
weren't
is
given it
again
until, I think, like literally
much later.
on the way to on the way to Australia, basically.
Exactly.
Like, that was
And
it.
that's, I don't think that's even, that is Mercedes exploiting gray areas against its own customers. Look, on some level, it's fine. This is Formula One, you can do that. But then it becomes
The
a
FIA
question
need to
yeah.
fix that, basically.
yeah,
as
because it was
quickly
the
as possible.
same. Yeah, because it was the same nonsense that they did in 2014 when Williams and McLaren and I think it was Force India, they used to get. At that time, what used to happen was there was, I think it was A1, A2, A3, something. This was the specification of power units that used to go. Mercedes would get the best one. The second would go to Williams, third to McLaren, fourth to Force India. And they would have slight difference in the overall output that the power
They
units
give
would
them
have.
different mappings and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So
And also
that's-
delayed upgrades and parts back then as well. Like,
Yeah,
they're not
very
allowed to do that
common.
anymore.
Yeah. So what it's either McLaren will raise hell, they will start questioning this because at some point they will have to. Either they do, or either in the background there has to be a conversation that
Yeah.
okay, guys, this fuckery cannot go on. If you want to play on a level playing field, let's do that. Otherwise, if you don't want to supply us the engines, let us know. In that case, we'll look elsewhere. Because this is screwing McLaren over for no reason whatsoever. That's the main issue.
And you know it's an issue because of McLaren, for example, is not like an incompetent team. They've got a very good technical team. And the fact is, it is the same engine in both cars. And for McLaren to be having this big of an issue is very strange. And also, I wonder too, like, it seems like, I know it's mainly because they're further back, but it does seem like Williams and Alpine are having issues, but to a lesser extent than McLaren. You have to wonder, is Mercedes more willing to help out one
Williams
than
is
the
also
other?
having issues. Albon didn't start.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Sorry, it's just Colapinto's absolutely spectacular drive making me forget certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Argentinians hate me, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because you're an awful prick. I hate you as well, but sure, here we are.
Well,
Really?
I
Why? What
always
did
say-
you say?
I rated him 6.5 out of 10 because he was 4 tenths off Pierre Gasly, in both qualifyings, and he was much behind. He was specific distance behind him in the races.
Yeah,
And
I mean, in terms
the
of pace, but
Argentinians did not like
he's a
it
much
this time
better
around.
wheel-to-wheel racer than Gasly, though. I think we've
Sure.
all learned that now.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
And
it's just a fact.
By the way, the same thing happened last time around when I posted this thing on X. I got, I think, 1.2, 1.3 million views. So thanks for that, by the way. I got a decent payout from X and from the affiliates. So thanks for that. Lovely. Plenty of clicks and everything. I love that.
Yeah.
Keep him coming. I got a bit offended when one or two people started calling me xenophobic, but then it became a trend. It was xenophobic. Fucking hell. So Argentinians have only one. We have different kind of abuses. They have different, I guess. But yeah. Anyways,
I just checked the comments on my videos, by the way, and one of them was just unsubscribed.
Yeah, we get a few of them here as well. Yeah. Anyways,
The funny
coming
thing
back-
was, though, it said unsubscribed, and I replied, "Thank God," and then a person underneath replied with, "Lol, this is why this is my go-to channel now." F1 fans are great, man. I love them.
love them.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to McLaren, Jesus, lovely tangent. Yeah, it started with Franco Colapinto. I think when it comes to overall performance, I'm not really worried with McLaren. They were 6 tenths off. It was 4, according to Stella, it was 2 tenths the power unit and 4 tenths the upgrades. I think the deficit was expected. Mercedes has brought significant upgrades already in Bahrain, and even I think in the first couple of races. McLaren hasn't brought jack. They've not brought anything. And the first, I think, upgrade package will be brought in Miami. The last time they brought an upgrade package in Miami, Lando won the race. So if the gap is 4 tenths, I'm not too worried. I think within a significant period, they will learn the power unit, unless there's some skullduggery going on from Mercedes, which we are not sure of.
Or 2 races get cancelled, which means they can't learn, which would be a pain.
Not even that is fine. I think I think they were close to a second off in Australia. They've shrunk that gap to 2 tenths, specifically when it comes to power unit in China. So
They'll
the gap
learn
has been
quick.
reduced. They learn, and once the upgrades come in, I think I won't be surprised if McLaren slowly even jump Ferrari. Ideally,
I
won't.
would be
won't come as
surprised
a
if
surprise to me.
McLaren don't jump Ferrari this season
I
at
agree.
some point.
I agree.
The question will be when,
Yeah.
but I would be surprised because the power unit is clearly much better over the course of a race distance, at the very least, in the Mercedes. So they've already got that. And in terms of like chassis development, I think out of all of the teams at the moment, in terms of the flat out like who has the best aero team, that's McLaren at the moment
yeah.
still.
100%.
So I'd be very surprised if they don't overhaul them.
Exactly. For me, the whole thing is, okay, maybe in the beginning they are in trouble. Maybe they'll take some time. They'll be slow starters, but there are 22 races. And by the way, I won't be surprised if both Bahrain and Saudi come back at the end of the season. We might have a even shorter winter. We might see them either between Abu Dhabi or something, or we might see them at some point. I won't be surprised. So Qatar has already been rescheduled in MotoGP, and it will be in November. It has been moved from April to November. Hopefully the fucking orange orangutan, he calms down and ends the war, and we can get on with our lives. Yeah.
The war's already won. He told us last week. Relax. It's all over.
100%. I completely have faith in him.
And if you want to learn more about the history of conflict with Iran, you can check it out in my new book.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay. So let's
speaking
see, because we might have
of
to do
Lando
4 races,
Norris
by the way.
and terrible starts, should we talk about Max Verstappen bottling 2 starts in a row?
Oh yeah. I don't think he did. It's a power unit issue.
No, it's a skill issue.
Okay, sure. I've apparently become a major Max Verstappen stan.
I
these
noticed,
days.
yeah. What's the deal, man? What's going on?
I don't know.
Here's me defending Hamilton. Yeah.
I mean, things change. We have to, you don't stick with a certain narrative.
No,
you have to
no.
keep splitting it around just to keep people confused. So,
Yeah. So how bad is Verstappen at the moment? Is it terrible or awful? These are the real questions.
he's fine. He's fine.
yeah.
I'm impressed with Hadjar as well.
Yeah.
I'm just, This is where I expected Red Bull to be honest, when it came to.
I'm surprised. Yeah, you expected
You
them to
are?
be here. I didn't. Yeah,
I did. I expected them to
I thought
be
they'd
here.
start the season well.
No, if we talk about pre-season, before the pre-season tests, so before the car had even rolled out, I remember I said I expect them to be 6th or 7th overall in the championship.
I remember I said I think they
Yeah, you
could
said
win
they'll-
some of the first races
Yeah, I
and
told you
then
they won't.
drop off.
Yeah,
Although
they
I
dropped
was,
off, at least the
although
drop-off
they
thing is-
did drop off. They just dropped off. I just didn't expect them to drop off from testing to race one. I thought it would take a little bit longer, you know. But like
Yeah.
the one thing I will say is we were both correct on the fact that Red Bull would take a specific route, which was make a very good power unit that doesn't have the best reliability, and that so far has proven pretty accurate. Like the power unit is, I don't think it's as good as the Mercedes or the Ferrari, but it's definitely the third best power unit in terms of performance. Yeah, it's just
Second
reliability
fastest.
is
It's not the third.
potentially, yeah.
It's
But I mean,
the
in
second
overall
best.
performance, it's probably third best. In fairness,
I mean, yeah, it blows up. That's the problem with it.
no, I just mean the Ferrari is definitely like slower in certain aspects, but in terms of overall performance, they've made the right compromises.
I'm
and
talking
so
about the
on.
peak power. If
yeah.
we are talking about peak power, the Red Bull power unit is better. So the issue.
So you're
that
saying
Red
it's a
Bull,
skill issue then?
yes, 100%. So why Red Bull essentially struggled on this track? It was Liam Lawson who talked about it. The problem is the key, you can say, advantage or key strength of the Red Bull powertrain is whenever you are at tracks where harvesting is tough, that's where the power unit has a significant strength over almost everyone else. So in Australia, the harvesting was a major issue. There weren't that many areas where you could actually harvest electric power. That's where Red Bull was spectacular. It was probably the second best, right? Here, since that thing gets evened out, the other areas is where the other power units have an advantage, and that's why it was behind. That's on the, you can say, the power unit side. When it comes to the car, I think it should be expected. I'm honestly surprised why people have the memory of a child that they don't even remember something that was told around 3 months back, where it was specifically told by Lauren McKees that because we went deep into 2025, developing the 2025 Challenger, it was going to be a handicap for 2026. And we are looking at a scenario where the car is underdeveloped. There is a challenge, and it is obvious. So these are the things that were expected. And these are the things that Red Bull, to a certain extent, talked about. Now, the question is how they react to it. I think this is where things exactly. Yeah, this is exactly the point, because
You mean by
what
not
happened-
showing up to a press
exactly my
conference?
point. This is
to
the worst
explain?
possible thing that they could have done.
Yeah.
They didn't even show up to the media house, the press conference, the scrum, the media scrum
Worse
that they
than
have
that, they
afterwards.
didn't even. There has been a few times where Horner did that, and the few times where
Every
Horner
time.
did that.
Okay,
no,
so
but
you're just skipping.
the few
Okay.
times where Horner skipped it, it was always because of there was a delay in the race or something would go on, but there would be a specific. He would tell them in advance, "I'm not going to be there. I've got a flight to catch. We've had a red flag," or his PA would tell them on WhatsApp, I assume. But like they would basically tell them like, "I won't be there." Laurent Mekies, there was no word, no nothing, just wasn't there, and that is like. Your team principal is supposed to show up on bad days, not just the good. And I think Red Bull have deeply underestimated how good Horner was at making sure when things go wrong, he was there to pull the team together and say, yeah, we fucked up, but we're all in this together and we'll come back stronger. This is we fucked up. Let me get out before the board comes and shouts at me. Like this, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, you know? So you're only as good as your bad days, basically. That's the thing about Formula One. Like you can have an amazing days. It's how good you are on your bad days that defines a Formula One team. This isn't a good look. This is not great.
Yeah. So one of my journalist friends that were there in Shanghai. So what she revealed was that the environment around Red Bull after the race, it was like ridiculous. Everyone was quiet. Everyone had their heads down, and you can see the change in the energy that particular garage was showing and compare it to others. They didn't really want to be there, and this is a bit of a surprise. Maybe it came as a bit of a jolt for them. They didn't expect it to be this bad, But the question is how they go from here to the next one. Because apparently, if reports are accurate, what they did was they scrapped the media sessions and everything. They were on Max's jet, and that's where the whole briefing happened between Verstappen's, Pierre Vacher, Laura McKees, and others. So they are working on things fine. My entire the bone of contention for me is the way the entire Verstappen clan reacted when things went wrong, when Horner was there. If that is the reaction they'll have right now, I think it's going to become even more unstable.
It's going to
And
be a problem, yeah.
yeah,
Because what they did last time was blamed somebody, and that culture doesn't just go away. You know,
yeah,
the whole thing about, like, Toto Wolff, for example, said this, and I believe like Horner said this a good few times as well. Like, you know, Toto Wolff basically said, like, we want to have a no blame culture. It's a performance culture. It's just like a case of, essentially, there's no point just blaming one person. Like, if that person isn't working, that's a conversation we'll get to. But you blame the performance and work back from there, basically,
yeah.
you know? And it seemed like last year Red Bull made a very defined decision that the problems we're having are all down to Horner. And that doesn't work, because it's like McLaren removing Honda. You remove the engine and then find out, oh, wait, no, the engine wasn't the problem. What do you do then? Like, and it feels like they're just going to end up blaming someone else. That's like, a board isn't going to say, oh, we fucked up and we need to double down for 5 years. They're going to say, like, who can fix this the quickest? That's going to be
Reality
the
is they didn't
conversation.
fuck up. I won't even say they fucked up this season, because this was
Sure,
this is where
yeah.
they are supposed to be.
They
The problem
they fucked up last year, is my point, at one point. But even then, I disagree with that too. I think it was McLaren just did a better job at a point. But
No,
Anyway.
fucked up in the sense in how they handled the whole thing. I think that's where they fucked up. Max
Yeah.
would have been a champion this coming into this season if Horner was there.
agreed. Yeah,
So
most people in the comments won't agree with that, by the way. But
by the way, guys, let us know. Do you think Max would be a champion in 2025 if Horner was there?
yeah,
Everyone, every fucking one of you. If you've lasted, if you've lasted 70 minutes
Yeah.
into the podcast, you better
But-
write down.
like the thing is,
I'm kidding.
I just can't see a situation where this doesn't start turning into a blame game, because that's just where I see it going, and that's going to be even worse for two reasons. One, like, who are you going to blame first? It's either Mekies, which I don't think so, because that's a board appointee who's there, like, that they're going to want to keep on side, like they're going to kind of keep as the guy that looks after everything. So then you go to the technical team. It's going to be someone like Vacher, and if you start pissing off Vacher, that's Vacher is one of the best technical designers, like technical chiefs on the grid. If you kick out Vacher, you're fucked. I'm sorry, like that's just going down the route of ruining a team even further. And I feel like that's where it's going to go, because I just don't see Verstappen and them being like, yeah, I can wait a year. This happens. It's fine. Let's just work together. It's going to be we need to fix this fast. And I feel like their reaction is going to be, who can we blame then? Who can we change to fix this fast? Which is entirely wrong. And the second area where I think this is going to go horribly wrong is if that's the kind of morale you're going to have in that team, the second Horner buys another team or it's announced where he's going, those people in that team are going to start going, yeah, I'm not resigning here on a sinking ship. I'm going to go to the light beacon over there, the guy I know who pulls everything together for us. Because as you and I both know, a lot of fans might think Horner was like this terrible boss. Milton Keynes factory, the people at Red Bull loved him. They absolutely loved the guy. So if he starts a new team at a time when this one's falling apart, that's going to be a nightmare for Red Bull. So they can't afford this sort of morale right now. They need to be pulling everything together. That's the concern for me.
I think Max goes to Mercedes for 2027.
I think that door is closed. I don't know why I have a feeling it's gone.
I don't think that door is ever going to be closed.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Because
What happens to Red Bull in that case, though? Yeah, exactly. You've built your entire situation around a driver
that
now.
was exactly what we talked about last year when ultimately Horner was removed, right? That if you're going to build an entire squad around a driver and you remove the captain, which was Horner, and then you put a new one, once the driver is gone, the captain would be if the captain was someone like an acclaimed name, maybe things would have been different.
Yeah.
Lauren Marquez is not, and I think that look, this is the initially what they have to do is they have to take stock, and when it comes to taking stock, is you have to be very realistic on where you are. And where Red Bull is right now is they are in a situation where the chassis needs work, and they've been open about it. Pierre Vacher has been quite open when it comes to where the chassis needs work. Then on the other hand, you have the power unit side of things, and that will also improve. The realistic expectation is, first of all, realizing one major thing. This power unit, ideally, in terms of expectation, should have been much worse. It is not. You have to fix reliability, and if you fix reliability, it will be closer to the front. Hadjar was third on the grid in Australia, ahead of the Ferraris. So there is potential in that car. It's not like everything's gone. The point is, if you're going to build it from here, first of all, you need to have people who have trust in the entire project. Is Max the guy? I'm not sure, because the way he's gone about things is as a driver, I don't think he has done anything wrong. Whether it is the adaptability and every other, you can say, aspect of driving, he's doing it well.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. Agreed.
100%. Yeah. I mean, we were joking earlier. Ultimately, what we have to focus, what he would be focusing on is essentially, if this car going to be a title contender next season? And the answer is no, I don't think it would be. And at that point, the question for Max is, does he want to toil in a series where he's not going to win and drive a car which is, in terms of the regulations, which are dog shit? None of that is an appealing thing. I first of all, in my view, I don't think he's going to retire or anything. That's off the table for me, at least for now. I just think that at that point, he has the exit clause already in place. He has to be top 2 by Austria.
You don't think he's going to be top 2 by Austria?
If he's top 2 by Austria, I think he's winning the championship. I'm telling you right now.
If he's top 2 by
100%.
Austria, the other teams have a lot to answer for.
Yep. and ask Red Bull as well, what the fuck have they done in that particular period? But yes, just to summing it up, summing the whole thing up, for me, I think by Austria we'll probably hear that Max is going to Mercedes. That's the trajectory that I see happening, and it would be criminally foolish if they put Arvid Lindblad next to Isaac Hadjar at Red Bull, because boy, you are going to screw up 2 young talents. But
I think no matter what way it goes, if Max leaves, regardless of like if it's Mercedes or just sabbatical because he genuinely is like, I hate these cars, like maybe, which could happen. He could be like, I'm going to go do Le Mans for 2 years and see what Formula One does. Like, because he could do that
Le Mans right now.
Sure, but my point is like he could go and like focus on doing that himself, and that could be the thing. Or
I mean,
endurance racing for the whole
Nico
season.
Hülkenberg did it during a season and won. Alonso did it during a season and won.
He could do, my point is, the point is he could just go spend time with his family, do that racing for fun to like keep himself in the game. Like he could very well do that, and there'd be no grudging him for doing that. Like he's made his money, 100%. He's won his championships, he's proven that Vettel is still the best driver at Red Bull. So like, sorry, I had to throw that in.
Don't say sorry. No. We don't do that here. No sorries on that front.
But yeah, like the point is he could go and do that, right? And I think he'd be well within his reasons to do that. And if he does get a seat at Mercedes, that makes perfect sense. And the point of this little rant I'm making is like, none of this is to begrudge Max, because who's at fault here is Red Bull. Like you don't build your whole team around a driver. Like you don't remove the captain for the driver. It's just, all you're doing there is it's basically proof once again why boards can't run F1 teams, because a board is making decisions on 3-month timelines, 6 months at best. And when you do that in Formula One, you lose immediately. Because in Formula One, even when you say like, oh, we're making 100 race plan or a 5-year plan, you lose like immediately, because as soon as you short-term think, you lose. It needs to be, this is our plan and it's going to take as long as it takes. And you hope to cut that as short as you can. And the way you do that is by keeping the fucking guy who's done it twice before, not the driver who can only deliver as good as the car can be. It doesn't, like, if you focus on having the best car in Formula One, you'll win championships because you'll get the best driver on the grid. And as good as Max is, I did tell the people last year when they told me Max would win races in a Haas, I was like, that's not how Formula One works. I'm sorry, I'll have to say it again. It doesn't matter how good he is.
It's the mass paranoia that everyone was taught last year. And ultimately, a lot of backlash that Max is getting right now, it comes down to the mass paranoia that I think half the fucking grid had last year, where you had literally experienced guys coming up and saying, he could score a podium. He might be more competitive in an Alpha Tauri or whatever that other car is. Like, fucking hell, have we lost
when people told me, he'd win in a Racing Bulls, it's like,
Jesus
no,
fucking
that's a
Christ,
deep
Lord.
misunderstanding of this. The Racing Bulls is easier to drive and therefore easier to qualify in.
It has a smaller peak.
The whole point was like, Max has a Red Bull contract. If they wanted him in an Alpha Tauri, they could put him in an Alpha Tauri and change the livery out and be like, this is our main Red Bull team now. Like, they could do that in 5 seconds. So if the Racing Bulls was a better car...
2008, by the way.
Yeah. So if the Racing Bulls was a better car, they'd just swap it around. Like, that's... So, yeah, it's just the stupidity. So basically my point here is none of this is really Max's fault. It's just...
It is. Wait. No. He also is...
No, it's his father's fault.
He also is... No. He also is culpable because...
He's culpable for ruining his own career. Yes.
If he had said no to Horner being fired, Horner would not have been fired.
That's true. That is true, yeah. Yeah.
With that being said, let's talk about...
Did we miss Helmet yet?
Never.
And have we noticed any difference since he left?
It's quieter.
That's true. Actually, realistically, everything was fine until Helmet left. So we could say Helmet is the reason the team succeeded.
Yeah, 100%.
Logically makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Because Formula One definitely isn't on a 6 to 12 month lag at all times.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
It's
never. It's straight away.
Exactly.
Gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mackie has joined. Red Bull started winning. It was his job. He did everything.
Yeah.
Moving on. Let's talk about another disaster. Let's talk about Aston Martin.
Jesus.
Your favorite team.
Can we come back to it when they start winning? Can we just wait? No?
That'll take a while.
I give it 6 weeks.
Yeah. So essentially Miami. Eh? Okay. By the way, you saw that clip of Fernando Alonso being forced to get his hands off the steering because it was vibrating so much.
Yeah, no, he was just he just really likes his gloves. That's all that was. He was just checking them out. He was like, these are class gloves, and then he went back to it. Yeah.
First of all, he said in the media that his hands he stopped having feelings in his hands, so he wasn't feeling anything. It was numb. How the fuck is a car that is this unsafe being allowed to compete in a race? That is the first question that needs to be asked.
Compete is a strong word.
Sorry. Participate.
Thank you.
Yeah. Participate in a race. Okay. Oh, by the way, you saw this clip of Fernando Alonso being P11 at the start of the lap and I think being P17 or something by the end of it. Everyone just passed. And it's like he couldn't really do it. And he was just taking his normal line and here goes one car, here goes another car, here goes another one. They were overtaking him left, right, and center, and it's so demoralizing. And he's oh fuck. Should have let Michael win that 2006 championship, isn't it? It's just the karma, the bad karma that is coming back to bite him in the end. 20 years of that.
I don't know, man. It's just I'm just wondering, like, the problem is I just need to see like what do they actually do behind the scenes, because I was kind of like, as we came into the season going, okay, it sounds like they're kind of all on the same board, and like, look, Honda was always going to be behind because of where they started, because of the whole history. You can check out my video on that on Wheel Sports. But yeah, they were always going to be behind. I've gotten really good at this, dropping in announcements. I'm trying to become more professional doing things like this. Anyway, yeah, they were always going to be behind. But the worry I have now is it seems like it's more than just a technical issue. It's like the team and Honda just don't want to work together, which is like, that's what it's starting to feel more like now. And that's a deep concern, because when it was just PR guys saying shit, it's like, marketing guys are always douchebags. But when it's technical engineers fighting with each other, engineers, once they disagree, never agree again. That's a fact about life. So I don't know what's going to happen here. And Yeah, I don't know.
I think again, just like Red Bull, they also have to be realistic and know that this is a long-term project and treat it as such. And if they do, again, it's painful if you're a driver, because I mean, literally painful because the car is being like this. They have to be very, very pragmatic.
Female drivers would probably love this car to be. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Nothing.
No, but power steering is the only issue. I mean, yeah, they'll be able to drive, not an issue.
I was making a vibrator joke. It's the world's most powerful vibrator.
Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
It's a 12
I not even thought
vibrator.
about I literally thought you were being misogynistic, but you've gone on the other level.
No, I was genuinely saying I think some women would enjoy this car for a couple of laps. You know?
Coming back. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think they have to be very realistic when it comes to the whole thing. Honda is not going to make a drastic jump out of the blue. I think first thing is at least the thing is reliable. They lasted the qualifying and sprint and everything. It's just that in the race, the car was going to kill one of the drivers. So that is something they have to cure. I think what they need to do is until the summer break, they have to focus on two things: make the engine reliable, make it less dangerous to their drivers' lives, and start closing the gap. That's how they have to focus, because if they're looking for, but let's say some tangible benefits that are not going to come within a weekend, it's going to take a long time for them. They are if my estimation is correct, they are around 2.5 seconds off.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look that bad if it is 2.5 seconds off, because again, the power unit is still running at a detuned setting.
This is the thing though, isn't it? Like, this is why I really just hope that some of the noise we're hearing around like them and the relationship with Honda and stuff, I'm hoping it's overblown to an extent, because I feel like if they can fix the issues with reliability, then I feel like they've got a package here that would immediately start jumping up to being like near to even where like Haas and Alpine are. You know, they would immediately jump up there. I think top of the midfield, like fighting between those top drivers at the midfield. So like if they could do that in this season, then you've got a car that could immediately be quite strong in 2027. You've got a great foundation to build on. So like it's not like it's all dire, but it feels like that they're letting this issue get into political problems with the engine supplier, and that's where it becomes like, so what do you do there? Like, who do you know, put it this way, if they decide that between them and Honda they're going to like cancel this contract, then for next year they have a Ferrari engine. So like, do they win championships with a Ferrari engine? I don't think so. You know, if it was a Mercedes engine, I'd say sure. Like, give Newey a Mercedes engine.
You've seen what Mercedes has done with McLaren.
No,
why
sure,
are they going
but
to
like
be any different?
that's gonna start being better over time, is my point. So give Newey the best power unit on the grid. Do I think him and his team could build a chassis to at least rival Mercedes? Sure, over time, yes. Like, it maybe not straight away, but over like a year or two, sure. But that seems very short-sighted to me, and I just don't know. Yeah,
that
with Honda
also burned.
Or with Mercedes. Yeah.
They left Mercedes, right?
Yeah.
They were with Mercedes and they left the partnership. So let's...
I don't think it's burned. I just don't think they would...
No, Toto has said it is burned.
Really?
Toto has said we will not supply Aston Martin.
See, I think Mercedes would overrule him on that eventually. Because
maybe
Mercedes makes a lot of money supplying engines to Aston Martin.
Martin, the customer. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Mercedes might come in and say, Toto.
Yeah, but Mercedes already has 4, right? 4 is the maximum.
That's the problem. That's the bigger reason, is that would be the easy excuse. You know, if they say like, oh, well, we can't supply 5. It's like, well, okay, fair enough. Yeah. But if like Alpine fucked off to a different supplier, for example, or something like that, then I feel like it would be harder for Mercedes to say no to a company that they supply engines to outside. You know,
they own 10% of Aston Martin, right?
As well, yeah. So like there's a deep partnership there. So I think it would be harder for them to just say no if they had less. But now they supply Alpine, it's going to be like, sorry, we're at maximum. Yeah. Can't do anything, you know.
So Newey missed the race in China, by the way. And there seems to be that this was a case of a bit of a blowback. No, he wasn't there.
Was he not on track looking at a car? I could have sworn I saw that.
You're hallucinating like anything, mate. He wasn't. I specifically asked this question in the press conference, so I know.
No, these races were at 1 a.m. for me, so maybe
Yeah. So that's one thing. And secondly, there's been a report from German media, and it is very reliable. They're saying that Stroll is rethinking the kind of role that he's given Newey, and he thinks that maybe it's a bit too much. So the problem is Newey being so blunt and literally downright ridiculing Honda has also played a role here. I do think that kind of pushed a few buttons that they wouldn't have ideally, and maybe that's also being something that's causing this friction.
So do you think maybe I'm right in that it's all part of a plan?
No.
Newey is driving the value of the team down to bring Horner in. You know?
Yeah, I don't think so, because Newey is a stakeholder.
Yeah, but it'll go back up once Horner comes in, so it's fine.
Yeah, because that's how easy it is in Formula 1.
Yeah.
Newey might cash out and leave
Newey's thinking this out, you know?
Yeah. The problem is they've gassed up Newey so much in the team that now if you take any step to, throttle him to a certain extent, he won't take it lightly.
I don't think, like, this is just the only thing I see about this that annoys me so far is the way they're talking about Honda. And I just, because everything else is like, but then again, I guess like Newey is just an engineer who will just talk like that. Just flat out, just like,
I don't think that's necessarily the case.
This is why
we've seen James Allison talk. He doesn't do that in any which way.
No, but Newey, I mean, is like that in general. He's pretty blunt about how things are. He's always been like, he won't like kind of beat around the bush on something. Like if he doesn't want to talk about something, it's either he just doesn't talk or he'll tell you the actual answer of what he's thinking. Yeah. So like that person shouldn't be in media sessions. Like we talked about this before. I'm like,
that person shouldn't be team principal.
No, I think he should be team principal, but I think there should be a CEO who deals with media sessions. I think that's the way it should be, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Because as team principal, just being like the overall, I think we talked about this before, but like if he was just the overall performance guy he was the last word on everything to do with performance, that's fine. As long as you have another guy like
director is essentially.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like team principal for on-track performance strategy, like if you wanted to have him as like the lead guy, team principal for me, if it was like Andrea Stella, that you had a CEO beside you, that would be fine because you could have your Zach Brown.
Andrea Stella is the overall boss of McLaren.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
His role has a much broader scope when it comes to that because he's.
But the point is when he's focused on performance and he needs to like bury into just that,
he doesn't.
He tends to take over the seat.
But he doesn't have to do that, right? That's not his role. That role is.
But my point is when things are tough. Normally Zach then comes in and takes over the media sessions and stuff like that instead of Andrea Stella.
Zach does, but Zach is not a McLaren F1 team boss or any such thing. He's the McLaren racing CEO. Yeah. So he's like this past weekend he was at IndyCar and he was managing things there. So he's essentially looking at surface level stuff when it comes to overall operation of the McLaren team. That includes sponsorship, on-track performance, pit stops, operations, everything that comes under Stella. So
but if you had that situation, but just the CEO of the team who deals with sponsorships, media, like essentially, that's the way it should be. But
that's where we are. Yeah. So talking about Toto, then Alpine, they're also putting together a bid for that 24%. Your take on the whole thing?
I think it's twofold. I know like the headline is obviously like it's to stop Horner from getting a stake. I don't believe that. I think it's literally because it's actually Mercedes that are footing the bill, not Toto, which is the important thing.
You're saying that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, from what I've read, it's Toto obviously thinks it's a good idea, but it's Mercedes that actually will pay the 450 million. Like, so it's really Mercedes buying a share, not Toto, if that makes sense. But from a strategic point of view, it makes sense. Like you have a deeper integration with one of your customer teams. And also Williams and McLaren are more likely to be competitors soon. So the other thing is like Williams used to be a place where Mercedes could put young drivers. So by taking a stake in the team, you have another place where you can actually say, right, one of those seats we want for our young driver program. So strategically, it makes sense to me to have like a proper built-in partnership there. I don't think it's anything to do with Horner. I think it's just a bid. The question will be how much.
Essentially, they want to be.
Essentially,
that's what they want.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what it comes down to.
It
comes down to just that.
The question is how much Horner's willing to pay, because again, this is
going to drive the price up.
Yeah, and also this is a semi-state-owned team. So if they get like a 600 million offer instead of a 450 million offer, the team might want to go with Mercedes for the technical partnership, but they'll have to prove to the stakeholders like why that's a financially sound decision over time, instead of just giving the French people an extra 100 million in their accounts, basically, you know. So they're going to have to argue that out as well. So we'll see.
There's also this thing that unless the French have a very short-term memory, they would remember what Horner said about the Renault power unit pretty openly.
I thought we were going to get worse there. They'd remember what happens when the Germans came in the last time. Yeah, that's where I thought you were going. And you can read about that in my new book.
Germans led by an Austrian as well. Oh,
yeah.
Who would have thought? Let's see what happens there. I think for me,
I think this time is better, by the way, than the last time. Just
okay.
Well, I'd rather Mercedes winning F1 than Germany winning the. Anyway, we'll get.
I knew that you didn't even have to explain it.
Just for anyone watching who was wondering, I meant
better. Because there's going to come a time when this podcast is going to become big, and then people are going to clip things out of context and use it for some very, very nasty stuff.
I hope so. That's going to be fun.
Yep.
I want to be on the news when they pull up a clip like that, because they'll expect me to be like, well, I'll just be laughing live on CNN.
And they are not having us.
No, definitely not.
Okay. So I think for me, the whole Horner thing is probably going to be settled after his. When is the whole?
April is when the gardening leave's
right?
over.
So by the end of April, we're going to see the real story. Until then, I think Horner is holding his cards close to his chest.
Yeah,
he's probably hedging his bets between Aston Martin and Alpine, wherever things ultimately line up. Let's see.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other team in midfield you want to talk about?
No, I've already said how great Colapinto was. Williams, not really.
Scored a couple of points, yeah.
Behrman, unlucky that Hamilton learned to drive again, because otherwise I think he had a banged on seat for next year.
I think he still has a banged on seat for next season.
Potentially, yeah. Because it could go, I think he could get lucky in that
Which is
Ferrari.
Sad, by the way, that he has a banged on seat for Ferrari.
Yeah, because it means that either Ferrari have fucked up the championship so much that Leclerc basically has decided enough, or that Hamilton has fallen apart so much that they think that's it. But yeah, he's been spectacular, really spectacular.
He's a talent for the future as well. The way he raced against Max, pretty much keeping him in at an arm's length, which is good to see. Yeah.
Another Lindblad as well has been very impressive for the two races. I think
the first race, yes. Second race, not too much.
Not as, but I mean, for a rookie, I think he's doing pretty. I mean, I could see him being very, very good as we go forward.
Max doesn't like Lindblad apparently on track, because Lindblad
I'm not really surprising.
Doesn't give any room.
No,
which is so funny.
That's what I like though. Like Lindblad, like it's like Max is behind you. He's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
like I'm defending regardless. Like that. Yeah. That's the way it should be.
Exactly.
Like, look at how good Colapinto did.
Folds, he doesn't at all, which is a good thing. And at 17 and 18, having that kind of feisty nature is good. You need that at this age. Cool. Yeah. Let's jump to questions then.
Mm-hmm.
There are 8 of them, I think. Cool. Ahmed Fabli. Questions. How on earth is Aston allowed to race? Onboard show that they are committing elderly abuse to Alonso in live 4K. FIA should ban them from racing until they fix the vibration issue. He's right.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. 100%. Even I agree with that. In Karen Smith's review of this GP, he said that Franco's best talent and attributes is his defensive driving. Do you guys agree? Reminds me a lot of Jarno Trulli. I'll let you take over when it comes to Franco Colapinto.
What? Like, what was he? What was the question? Sorry.
The question is, according to him, Franco is the best talent, and his attributes are, one of the biggest attributes are the defensive driving. What do you think?
Yeah, he drove like Fernando Alonso this weekend. Incredible.
Oh, come on, don't you dare insult Fernando.
Made his car so wide. No, okay, look, he hasn't been as good as Gasly in pure pace. I get that. But that wheel-to-wheel defending, that driving, it was very good. It was, like, I mean, as much as I am a Colapinto fan, like, it was impressive how much he was able to hold drivers off, come back again, especially on, like, much older tyres, because, you know, tyres make such a difference with this regulation set. But I think it was really good. I genuinely think he has a lot more potential than he's been showing at Alpine.
That's the problem.
You know,
he shouldn't be this far behind Gasly. My whole thing is he shouldn't be this far behind Gasly right now.
He shouldn't. I think it'll be a race or two more, and then we'll see how bad Gasly really is. So
good. Okay. Yeah. For racing,
I should probably just say, por favor, gente de Argentina, suscríbete. There we go.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah. I was just telling Argentinian people to subscribe.
I know. I knew that much. I understood that part. Yeah, okay. For racing, I will say it's still early to give a review, but it's definitely better compared to DRS because the drivers can actually fight at every part of the circuit, including corners, and not just you have to be within 1 second and overtake at straights. If you fail to get stuck in dirty air and DRS rain, okay. It definitely needs some tweaks, especially with the battery harvesting and super clipping. So there is potential if they get it right. I'm hoping we do not get another TD39 ground effect. Ground effect era was ruined because of it. Fair point.
Yep.
Kind of agree with what you said, right? Next is Nelson Piquet Jr. Is this the worst Red Bull has looked in a while? What I will say about... Okay, first of all, that one. Is this the worst Red Bull has looked in a while? So far.
Yes.
No, it can always get worse.
Yeah, it can always get worse is a good point, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what I will say about the racing is that people are saying it is fake or artificial, but we've had DRS for years and the different compounds at the Okay. He added celebrities as well. F1 itself is moving closer to entertainment than sport. F1 has moved past being a traditional racing series long ago, and the people calling the race predictable, even though almost 20 years of Mercedes and Red Bull dominating, are just saying this because it is a popular thing to say. I said all those things. So this year being hollow or fake is untrue. F1 died from being a racing series a long time ago. We are left with a mainstream celebrity-filled boy band reality show. Nice.
Wow. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, flaky. So the racing is surprisingly entertaining. When Verstappen used to have the fastest car and started from the back, he would just pass everyone and nobody would fight him for some reason, just like you said. And ultimately, he was given the driver of the day. Every time a race was interesting in the last 10 years, it was either because of a tire difference or DRS. With the new cars, it is somewhat fair and not a boring, easy DRS pass. Okay, interesting. So the question is, why is Hadjar within 2/10 of Verstappen? Is the car not completely geared towards Verstappen yet? Because that BS of only Verstappen being able to drive the Red Bull makes no sense. A fast car is glued to the track, predictable, and with that nice bit of ability to play with it. So not difficult to drive. Let the Red Bull cope begin. Okay. What's your view? Why is Hadjar within a couple of tenths of Max?
A skill issue. It's because Max was never that good. He was a Nui merchant, just like Vettel. I think, look, there's two things here. I think Hadjar is actually, one, is a very, very quick driver. But I also think, two, like, these are new regulations. They haven't dialed the car in fully. That means it's not going to be as extremely towards Verstappen's driving style as it is later on in a regulation set, for example, because you haven't like got to that peak extreme. So you're still going to have a good enough window that Hadjar is going to be able to get in there. And we saw this as well, like even 22 and 23, like Checo was a lot closer to Max at certain points when they were developing the car. And I think like anyone who's like, oh, it's just like Max is just amazing. It's like, no, Max is incredible. But clearly the car is developed towards him when you've got Gasly, Albon, Checo, Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, all of them not getting like anywhere, like looking like back marker drivers when they're alongside Max. If they were close to Max but losing to Max, you'd say, or like not even like within 3/10 every race. yeah, you'd say fine. But when drivers like that are like 6/10s, finishing 20th when he's winning the race, like that is the car. I'm sorry, but like no matter how big of a Max Verstappen fan you are, that just logically doesn't make sense. So it is the way it is. And I think clearly this year the car is a bit better. I wonder, as the car develops, if they keep moving it towards Max, will we see Hajar drop off again?
Yep.
But, it also could be 2014. Who knows? We've been waiting a while.
So couple of reasons I think. I think first is Max has still not completely dialed into the regulations. I mean, there's still adaptation, and we'll see a lot of it as the season progresses, because the elite talents, they will slowly dial things up as iterations, more and more iterations you do, the better you get. The second is it's a very, very new car and very, very at a very nascent stage of development. So it hasn't really had it hasn't had the flair of a Red Bull yet. It's still vanilla when it comes to that part. So once those things start bidding in, you'll see the gap increase.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wins 1988. A rare Alpine appeared. Loud screams all the way from Mexico. If only Colapinto had qualified better. Oscar coming for that seat, Franco. Oh, interesting. I doubt that's going to happen, but maybe. Who knows?
Oscar Piastri to Alpine would be hilarious.
I mean, if Horner takes over, then it won't be that big a surprise, I guess.
Yeah, it just would be funny on like when we look at the,
trajectory.
Because
return.
Yeah,
You're talking about the entire story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Especially if he returns after not winning a title.
Yeah.
Like.
What can Aston Martin Honda realistically do until Japan to improve the car and the engine? I think Lance gave the answer. Pray for me.
Yeah. The thing is, they just need to figure out a compromise on the vibration. Like that is the biggest thing that they need to. They need to fix the vibration basically. And
rubber gloves with very, very thick cushions. So
yeah. No, but seriously, like if they can fix the vibration issue, like then they can turn the engine up and they would immediately be ahead of a few teams.
A second.
Yeah, like I think they'd be ahead of a few teams because I do think like even looking at the aero development that they have, like their car, even in just looking at it, is very similar to the philosophy that McLaren went with. So it's not like it's not like I just think this is a more advanced car in some ways than a lot of the midfield teams. And if they could just fix some of those issues, then they could dial there's also the issue of if they're not running the car at full pace, they also can't dial in setup. So we don't know what difference that would make, for example. So like there's huge low hanging fruit here, but can they fix that?
What they essentially need to do is they need to have patience and give it time, because if they are going to panic after every race weekend, it's not going to make sense. You have to first make peace with where you are right now, and then you start developing, and you have to bite the bullet. You have to understand that, okay, we are going to eat a few humble pies across the season. The point is, how are we developing the car? Are we going in the right direction? And it's not going to happen every race. You don't set your goals in that manner. You set a 3-race goal or a 6-race goal or a month or a couple of months. That's how you measure progress in Formula One. And every race turning up and acting like everything has fallen apart, like it was not supposed to, when it was so predictable, that's not going to be the right approach. They have to calm the fuck down if they really have the
100%.
kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Next is, if I remember correctly, the FIA and the teams are open to some adjustments to the rules. How probable is that in actuality, and what aspects of the car or the racing can even be changed, which would improve the racing? So go for it.
As I was just going to say, after Verstappen and everyone else was proven wrong, and we had an absolutely incredible race at China, which we all agree was absolutely without flaw, they have decided not to change anything for now. So let's see how Japan goes, because Japan is predictably going to be just like Australia. Like
it would be better. There are a lot. So what they're going to do is the entire S's, which was supposed to be one of the more challenging aspects of a Grand Prix calendar, they will be the S's will be the first sector. The S's would be spent essentially just harvesting, and then they can just
they could put chicanes on them. Just that be.
Don't give them ideas. They might end up doing that.
They just put heavy braking zones in there. Add some chicanes. Problem solved. Just that's what they should do now. Just add chicanes to everywhere. Basically, just like they did back after Senna died. They just added chicanes into all the fast straights.
Yeah,
That's the solution here.
that's the solution, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you could make better regulations, but let's not be silly here. Let's just put chicanes in. It's easier.
Exactly. So when it comes to regulations, the changes that they can make, it was proposed that they could go to a 60-40 split. They're currently at a 50-50 split. So how they do a 60-40 split is there's a two-way question. The first is they either reduce the electric component and then simply that is your basis. The other is they, instead of reducing the electric component, they completely use the the internal combustion engine to produce more power and then do the overall thing to be around 1000 bhp. That's what they try to go for. Have it at 1000 bhp by splitting the difference. So currently it's 550 and 450. They make it 600 and 400. Whether that's what they're going to do or not, let's see. The problem is, even in that case, the 400 or 450 is not a drastic change. So they need a bigger step. That's my view. But let's see. Ultimately, it's they've put pen to paper. It's all just a guesswork.
I think just, even if I would even rather, to be honest, it'd be like 800 horsepower and just turn the amount of electric down that you can deploy for now. I would just rather that. Like, even if the cars are slower in the straights, like, who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one will notice. Honestly,
they're slower in the straights now anyway, because as soon as they get to the same top speed as before, they were essentially just lift off and coast anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're like, these cars are capable of probably hitting like a 400 kilometer mark if they were flat out just on one straight. So we're already not seeing them use the full power. So just what does it,
what's the point?
What difference does it make? Yeah.
Okay. With all the harvesting going on, when drivers are training in the simulator, is the simulator in question the newest edition of Farming Simulator? No clue. No clue about that one.
I love Farming Simulator.
What's that?
That's the only game I've played in the past year.
Oh.
Farming Simulator. It's an incredibly realistic, I would say. Maybe not a don't run a farm, but like where you run a farm. So you like buy tractors, cows. It's surprisingly addictive. I've put in 100 hours on that game over the past year.
I'll stay away from that in that case. About the racing itself, for both the sprint and the race, I kind of perceived the racing to be hollow and artificial. He's my kind of guy. Yes, there were overtakes and battles, but they all feel so meaningless and not really earned at all. It's all about correctly timing your Uno reverse card button. Yeah, I found myself zoning out a lot during this weekend, but also could be because I am an Alonso fan in despair.
Yeah,
he's an Alonso fan, so of course he's not going to. Again, he's my kind of person.
There's a proven solution to enjoy the racing more, which I've employed over the past 2 weekends.
Yeah,
alcohol.
Kept your brain in the freezer.
Alcohol.
Okay.
After 4 or 5 beers, you don't even notice the vibrations on board the Aston Martin.
Oh God, yeah. Vettel Hamilton 6500. Since Fernando Alonso still thinks the racing sucks and Hamilton says the racing is great, why can't Alonso do this? Alonso, the racing on these regulations sucks. We are not really racing. This is Mario Kart racing wannabe. Alonso, we need to go back to the old this. Meanwhile, this 7-time champion likes these new cars because he wants us to suffer for our eternal existence. Okay, he's done he's done the entire bit. Jason, you want to go through it once?
What is it?
You're going to laugh like anything.
Okay.
Vettel Hamilton 6500.
Okay, you sent me the questions, did you? Or?
Yeah, the link.
Oh yeah, here we go. Right, let's see. So it's Alonso. The racing on these new regulations sucks. We are not truly racing. This is Mario Kart wannabe racing. Alonso says we need to go back to the old regulations like in 2010 to 2013. Meanwhile, this 7-time F1 world champion likes these new regulations because he wants us to suffer for our existence. Hamilton in a worried face, hold on. Alonso says, tell me, hardcore F1 fans, are you satisfied with these new cars? Hardcore F1 fans, no, with angry face. At Lewis Hamilton, Alonso to Hamilton. Jesus Christ, this goes on for a long time. Alonso to Hamilton. You just like these new F1 cars because you're a lot more comfortable and you were beating Charles Leclerc regularly more than enjoying racing in a mocking tone. I'd have to actually act this out, I guess. Lewis Hamilton, you're a little mouth mortal. Here it comes, spite me. This is insane.
Silence me. This is what you 7-time world champion know how to do.
Well, what happened when you were washed in the ground effect cars? This is good, yeah.
Oh God, you won't admit that you like these new cars. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Then Hamilton leaves angrily. Alonso was satisfied that he exposed Lewis. That's a good one. Okay. Red Robin 1122. Is Hamilton back?
Oh.
Well,
Maybe.
Let's circle back to this question by mid-season. We'll probably have a good answer by then.
Yeah, let's wait and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trang. Okay, Trang is the one that's, I think, at Ferrari. He's working at Ferrari, right? Yeah. How many races before you think Ferrari needs a firmer hand on... A firmer hand? That sounds wrong. But
A firm hand, yeah. That's a saying.
a firmer hand on Charles and Lewis's on-track fighting. What's your view on that, by the way? The way they allowed them to go ahead.
I think it's fine for right now. Like, I mean, the gap to Mercedes is just too big anyway. So I think they've realized that. And I think it's good that they're just letting the drivers fight it out. And I enjoyed it. Like, it was one of the most exciting parts of the weekend was watching Hamilton and Leclerc fight.
Yeah.
So, like, in the same way that I was happy that, that I think it was a bad idea for Lando and Oscar to fight last year, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think this is similar. I think at some point throughout the season they're going to have to clamp down on it, but I don't know if they will.
I think they're going
But
to
it
crash.
really depends. Yeah.
They're going to crash.
They're definitely going to crash. They're definitely going to crash.
That's
yeah.
what's coming.
Um,
That's going to
It
happen.
was exciting though to have Hamilton. Obviously, Hamilton was on the podium for the first time, so he was going to be happy. It was fun though, and a kind of nice turn of Formula One for Hamilton to say how much he enjoyed it, and then the radio to come over to Leclerc and say it's P4. Sorry, you didn't get the podium, and he was like, "I actually really enjoyed that. Like that was a nice moment, especially because Leclerc has gone through such torture for the past few years. It was nice to see him
go
enjoy
through more
it.
of it by the looks of it.
Sure, so it was good to see that for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Does this show that Lewis is on par with Leclerc when it comes to skill? Of course, they're both great. It's just that, okay, you go ahead.
No, continue. I'll just shake my head. It's fine.
I think both are good. Ultimately, Leclerc is better. So
I think in many ways, look, Lewis, you could say, is probably up there with Charles, but just in terms of just pure pace, if it was the old Lewis, I think sure. But age, you're going to like have the young guys get better than the new guys at some point, and it's just in terms of pure performance and pace, I think Charles just has the edge.
There.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think the point is, again, with the Lewis versus Charles debate, let's wait until mid-season because by then we'll have a clear trajectory in place.
Yeah.
And usually that trajectory stays. So, yeah.
Fair.
On that
All right.
bombshell,
Yep.
bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.